this video, we investigate the effects of temporary polling location shutdowns during an election day on voter wait times and propose resource allocation strategies for minimizing voting delays. To explore voter wait times caused by temporary shutdowns, a voting process is simulated several times with shutdowns occurring at various times during an election day. We assume that approximately 1,500 voters arrive at the polling location following a pattern on screen, with a large number of arrivals in the morning, a decrease in arrivals in the early afternoon, and a large number of arrivals in the late afternoon. To present a temporary shutdown, voting processes halt for 1 hour at the time of delay prior to reopening. The timeline on screen demonstrates a temporary shutdown occurring at noon or 12 p.m. and lasting until 1 p.m. A visual representation of the voting process is currently being shown on screen, with voters checking into the polling location at an electronic check-in, where they are provided a paper ballot. The voter then hand marks their ballot at a privacy booth before submitting the ballot at a digital ballot scanner. We assume that 3 check-ins, 9 privacy booths, 1 accessible ballot marking device, and 1 ballot scanner are allocated for the voting process. The graphical plot on screen presents the average voter wait times associated with a 1-hour temporary shutdown at various times throughout the day. The orange line on this plot represents the average voter wait time when no shutdown occurs during Election Day. During times when arrivals are high, the average wait time increases by as much as 17 minutes. When a delay occurs at 3 p.m., for example, average wait time increases from 18 minutes to more than 35 minutes. One strategy for mitigating long lines after a temporary shutdown is to increase the quantity of voting equipment as soon as possible after that shutdown. We model this solution by increasing the amount of voting equipment 1 hour after the temporary shutdown is resolved. This strategy is currently shown on screen, visually represented as a timeline overlaid on the arrival plot. This plot demonstrates a delay from noon, or 12 p.m., to 1 p.m., with additional resources being delivered and set up in the polling location at 2 p.m. When exploring this strategy, we consider adding 1 or 2 additional devices to one station, as well as determine the effect of adding 1 resource to each of 2 stations. The graphical plot on screen presents the changes in waiting times when 1 and 2 additional resources are allocated to a polling location after a temporary shutdown. Bars on the plot that extend below the orange line represent a decrease in average wait time, while lines extending above represent increases in wait time when compared to a polling location that does not receive additional resources. It is clear that allocating additional accessible ballot marking devices may reduce voter wait times regardless of the time of delay. Increasing the number of privacy booths also effectively reduces voter wait times for the majority of these delays. These findings demonstrate that ballot marking is likely the bottleneck of this voting process. While allocating individual resources proves to effectively reduce voter wait times, there may be an added benefit of adding multiple types of voting equipment. The plot on screen shows the effect of adding combinations of resources to the polling location. This plot shows that allocating an additional privacy booth, an accessible ballot marking device, offers the largest reduction in wait time, regardless of the time of the temporary shutdown. This finding further confirms that the bottleneck of the simulated voting process is ballot marking. Other combinations of resources, including the addition of an accessible ballot marking device, similarly offer reductions in voter wait times to a lesser degree than the combination of a privacy booth and accessible ballot marking device. Comparing the strategies of allocating resources to one station or adding a resource to multiple stations demonstrates that the largest benefit is achieved by adding a privacy booth and accessible ballot marking device to the polling location simultaneously. When experiencing temporary shutdowns at a polling location, attempting to increase the quantity of resources after the delay is resolved may assist in minimizing the increase in voter wait times caused by the interruption. In the presented case, the process of marking a ballot becomes the bottleneck of the voting process, indicating that adding a privacy booth, accessible ballot marking device, or both may effectively reduce wait times, even when added an hour after the delay has been resolved. One limitation of this work is that if your voting process significantly differs and the process bottleneck is not ballot marking, A different piece of equipment may be required to reduce delays. Additional limitations to the strategy are the availability of spare voting equipment and the physical size of the polling location. In some cases, additional voting equipment may not be available or must be relocated from a less busy polling location. When polling locations have a small usable area, it may be challenging or even impossible to set up an additional equipment due to space constraints. In cases where check-ins are required, additional staffing would also be required to operate the added voting equipment, which may limit the feasibility of this strategy. Despite these limitations, we demonstrate that the addition of voting equipment in response to temporary shutdowns effectively reduces voter wait times. This strategy may be a feasible solution for election administrators and election officials facing unexpected voting interruptions. While the numeric values in the presented analysis may not reflect any particular polling location, the strategy of identifying the voting process bottleneck and increasing resources at that point in response to a temporary shutdown may reduce voter wait times.